Hey everyone, I'm Mackayla, and today on the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast, we welcome Mags. So we're really glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you just put out like a reinvention of your past album. What was that kind of process like in creating a reinvention?
Yeah, it was I kind of fell backwards into it a little bit, honestly. It started off that I had the idea to do an acoustic album of the album I just put out last year, Destroyer. And that was more so I could sort of bring some attention back to Destroyer, the album. I was like, okay, well, I put this album out and a lot of things happened in my personal life around that same time. And I kind of just like had to focus on being a person for a while.
Very
And
important.
yeah, definitely. And, so later in the year, earlier this year, I was like, I need to like do something to kind of draw attention back to it, but I was like, it's a little late to put out music videos for me. It's like I want to just do something that is almost like an addendum,
Mhm.
and the idea for an acoustic album popped into my head. And so I kind of just started making one. I just sat at my computer and made a bunch of demos of the songs and, took the time to adapt the arrangements to just being acoustic guitar, which, for how kind of intricate those songs on Destroyer are, it was, I'm like, okay, I have to just think simply,
Mhm.
just me and my guitar, like, and as time went on, I was like, okay, well, that's cool, but how can I make this a little more like special, So I talked to one of the guys who plays guitar in my band, Ahmed, and I really look up to him. He's somewhat of a musical genius, and we had discussed like a way to kind of produce the album in a more like orchestral way. So I ended up flying out to Chicago last year and at the end of the year, and I was like, we're gonna make this kind of like orchestral acoustic album, and we ended up just kind of like almost ditching that immediately, and we started making what is now Creator, with all the different kind of beats and textures and motifs that we ended up including. It all kind of just like happened,
Mhm.
just I think I was there for about 9 days, and I'd say that it was certainly an experience for me collaborating for the first time on a Mags project, but also just like not being too precious about the process. I like to be prepared when I go into the studio or when I'm making something, and this was very much just like we're kind of making it up as we go.
Yeah, so what was it like kind of not being prepared? Was it scary or any, moments where you're like, I'm not sure this is right?
Yeah, I'd say like the first probably 3 days, I was kind of white knuckling it through, and like internally, I
Mhm.
wasn't like, I think what I realized at the very beginning was it's like, this is not what I expected, but that's okay.
Right.
And I just need to trust the process and let it happen the way it's going to happen. But I think by day three, we started to kind of like get into our rhythm, and it was honestly just fun. Like we weren't really like thinking too hard about what we were doing. It was like, for the most part, I would have like sort of the North Star, like the seed of the concept of,
Mhm.
like I want this song to sound like this, or like I know for an example, like when we were doing sequence two, I was like, I want this song to sound like cowboys riding off into the sunset, real gunslinger vibes. So that was just kind of like our like concept that we ran with all the kind of textures we were adding.
Mhm.
We kind of just took that approach for each of the songs.
Yeah, that's really cool. I can definitely hear the cowboys riding off into the sunset on that song.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. So, in terms of like the orchestral acoustic version that you had originally gone into, are you ever going to release that, or is that kind of not going to happen?
So I didn't do all the songs like that, but there are a few. I think there's about four or five that are like way more stripped down and like, they have more like softer piano and like the acoustic guitar. My voice is a little less processed and stuff. So I mean, I might put those out for my Patreon, but I don't know if I'll ever do like a proper release on those.
Hmm. That's cool. You have a little something in your back pocket,
Yeah, I mean, I always do.
right? So, with something that kind of different from how you normally approach creating music, do you think you're going to take this approach again in the future?
Definitely. Yeah, I think this was sort of like a bit of a bridge for me creatively into doing some stuff that I maybe wasn't open to before. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like I think if I was put in front of, just like a computer, or if I was in a room full of instruments and it was just like make a mag song, I could do that in a couple hours,
Right.
like from start to finish, I could make a song. And I think in a sense that that's a good thing, but also as an artist, I think what's important for me is to always be trying new things and pushing myself out of my comfort zone and not just like phoning it in, you
Mhm.
know. So, the idea of doing a project like Creator and having that be sort of like a springboard to, be able to create music in different ways or be more adventurous about how I'm making my albums, like I think that's amazing.
So, in terms of trying new things, are there any different genres or ways of making music with mags that you want to try in the future?
Yeah, actually, I've always wanted to make a live album. I feel like that's absolutely going to be in the cards at some point. I'm also like, I grew up listening to like Motown and like old soul music, so I feel like that already kind of there's little bits and pieces of it in there, but I think, someday soon there's probably going to be like a proper Mags like Motown album.
That'd be very cool.
I think so too, yeah. I've been talking about it for a while, but this is the first time I've said it publicly.
Now you have to do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Aside from soul music, are there any other, genres that you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, I actually listen to a lot of just like electronic music,
Mhm.
like a lot of like ambient stuff, and you can kind of hear that in Creator, like one of my big influences is Clam's Casino. Like everything that he does is pretty much just like on all my playlists. I also really like listening to hip hop. I listen to a lot of like the older Jake Peg Mafia albums, like they're just very raw and like his stuff always to me sounds very like homemade, like in a good way,
Mhm.
Like I mean, it is homemade, right?
Right.
Makes most of his beats, I think, and he's always got something to say. I think that's just like it just kind of like fits with the kind of like attitude that my brain tends to click into if I'm, just trying to either, focus or disassociate. It's like it just kind of works.
Mhm. That's good that you have that music.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, going off of like homemade, you're going on your first DIY tour. So,
Mhm.
what are you most excited about?
Wow. Honestly, it's a combination of excitement and nervousness, I
Mhm.
guess. I guess anytime you headline, there's always the kind of thought in the back of your mind of like, what if nobody shows up,
Right.
And it's a little bit more pressure in planning than if you're opening for a really well-established band or something
Mhm.
like that. But that's fine. I think, in the areas that we're going to be touring in, it's like I've done pretty well in those areas and I've received a lot of demand to come back to those areas.
That's
So
good.
yeah, I'm not too concerned. It's more like I think the thing I'm most excited about, honestly, is just playing shows again. It's been, I think, close to 9 months since I played. So yeah, it's like just getting back on stage and just like getting to play the songs, with my homies. Like that's like the most exciting thing about it.
So, what have you been doing to prep now that you've, haven't played live for 9 months?
I'm just now kind of getting back into sort of my like pre-tour routine of like, going for like short runs just to get my stamina back up, stretching every day. And then just like getting like working on my breath work. I haven't really been honestly, I haven't been singing too much the last few months just because I was busy like moving and
Mhm.
it was just a busy summer ultimately. But yeah, just like kind of getting back in shape and getting ready to hit the stage again.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much work people put into getting ready for a tour.
Yeah, it's a short tour, and I know by like the first like, probably 3 to 5 shows, it's like your body just kind of gets used to it.
Mhm.
But, going in with, as much preparation as you can, it never hurts.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to miss most while you're away on tour?
Oh man, my girl and my cats.
What kind of cats do you have?
We have a Russian blue and then we just have like a black cat, Ben and Gloria, respectively. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad you'll miss them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'll get pictures and FaceTimes and stuff, so yeah.
They like your music?
Um, I don't know what they like sometimes. They're so like temperamental at times, but yeah, sometimes I'll be like making a beat and they'll just come over and just like sit right here. So I think they like it a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah. They don't like the loud noises though. If it gets too loud, they usually the ears will go back and they'll be like,
A little scary for them, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
So, are there any cities or venues that you're really excited about visiting?
Yeah, so I haven't played in Los Angeles since I moved. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some familiar faces and just kind of being back in the kind of like hometown vibe. Like, I was in LA for 6 years and the few times that I played there, they did feel like proper hometown shows, which is cool. And then Reno, Nevada is also a place that we played a couple years ago that was like one of the most lit shows that we played. So I'm looking forward to going back.
Yeah, do you have any like shows or venues that stand out from past tours that you've done?
Hmm. I think really anytime that we play in like New York City, we've played Bowery Ballroom, we've played Mercury Lounge recently, and those shows to me are always like the most rewarding, I think, because like every tour goes through New York and it's like in order to impress people, you have to be really good. So anytime we go to New York, it's like the people there really like are there to see us and I think that's really special because like it's hard to impress New Yorkers anyway. And then I even come to the show or even like, give a shit. It's like makes me feel good.
I know. So I'm up in Boston and it's not considered, people usually either do New York or Boston or both. Typically don't just do Boston. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I go down to New York for so many concerts. I'm like, I just want you to come to Boston because I don't have it's just so much travel. But
It's so much travel. Yeah. We actually did like I think on my last headliner, we played New York and then we played somewhere, I think we played in Hamden, Connecticut. And then,
okay,
then we went up to, Boston and, yeah, it's like, it's very different, the vibes there, but
right.
yeah, it was very cool.
But everyone always, it's like New York. It's like, when somebody's playing a tour, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll see them in New York if they don't come near Boston. So
Yeah. What do you train down or do you drive?
yeah, I actually have a friend who lives in Connecticut. So I'll stay at her house. I'll drive to Connecticut and then take the train down.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So that way it's not, super long and I
Yeah.
can just like stay overnight and then go home.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about parking either.
Right. So that's a bonus because parking in New York, it's probably equally as bad as parking in Boston, but
Yeah, or LA. I lived in Koreatown for about 2 years, and that was quite an adventure having a car out there.
it's like it's nice to have a car in the city, but then it's also really annoying to have a car in the city.
Definitely, yeah. I just moved to Kansas City like a few months ago, and yeah, you basically can't exist out here without a car. It's everything is so spread out. Like we're kind of like tucked away, and like if we want to go grocery shopping, usually it's like if I was in LA, I'll just walk across the street, or just whatever. It's pretty close, but
Mhm.
even to get to the grocery store, it's about a half mile, and that's like just a little too far to walk with
Yeah, it's
grocery.
like you could, but then you have all the groceries, and that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of a necessity to have some wheels out here.
Probably better parking too.
100%. I've never even thought about where I'm going to park out here.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Takes a little of the stress off.
Definitely.
So, are there any particular, fan encounters that you've had that you want to share?
Hmm, that's crazy. I can remember this one time, I think we were in Phoenix and like there was a guy who wanted me to sign his vinyl he just bought, but he wanted me to actually sign like the vinyl, like
Oh,
not just the cover. He wanted me to I'm like, "Well, it's gonna ruin the vinyl." He's like, "Yeah, I don't care, it's fine." And I'm like, "But you just paid for this. You can't use it." And he's like, "I know, but like
oh.
it's dope." And I'm like, "Okay, well, it's your vinyl."
Did you
And
end up signing it?
I did end up signing it. I felt terrible about it though. Like not like it, I don't know. I knew he knew it wasn't gonna work and like I guess it's like, okay, fine. But just the principle of it really,
Yeah.
It's
No,
like what
I understand that. That would be weird. So I'd be like, that's cool, but then like all you can do with it is frame it.
pretty much, yeah. That's and like that's his prerogative and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I do remember, I think being in Phoenix again, another show at Phoenix. There was like a 6-year-old kid at our show, and he was like a big fan. He was like right up front, and like I got to meet him afterwards. I think that was the youngest person that had ever been at any of our shows, like 6 years old, and just like stoked to be there. I'm like, wow, this is like so cool. And I remember being like a teenager and like going to my first show and just being absolutely like mind blown the whole time,
Yeah.
Like when they're doing the sound check even and like the kick drum hits you in the chest for the first time. And I was just like, I've never
It's
heard
a
anything.
magical feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, it's very cool to be able to be that for someone else, you know?
Yeah, I wish my parents had taken me to concerts when I was 6. I went to my first one when I was like 14.
I think I was 16 actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, I grew up in the church and like there was very much this sort of separation between church activities and then like more, we'll say like secular activities, and going to like a club to see a show, I had to absolutely beg my parents to let me go,
Yeah.
And I think my dad even came with me, It was like me and my dad and my older sister. And yeah, it was just like, it was a whole night. We were literally there until I think 1 o'clock in the morning. And that was like a big deal too.
Yeah. But it's so fun to see young kids out there enjoying music because it's something I wish I had as a child. And I'm so happy that they have it.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important. And realistically, it's like it inspires them to, you know, make their own stuff. And like, I don't know. It just, it's good that like people still care about live music. Been so much bad shit that's happened in the last, 4 or 5 years. And
Mhm.
like the fact that people even still go to shows, I think is like, it makes me happy.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing quite like live music. It's just, it can't get the feeling elsewhere.
No, and I think even like my band, it's like listening to the albums is like, its own experience, but I think when you see it live, it takes on its own kind of energy and like, you know, I save up a lot of my energy for the shows.
Mhm.
So like being able to be in front of those people and like give them a show, it's like that's everything to me.
Do you have any pre-show rituals that kind of help you conserve energy?
Yeah, I definitely have some rituals. I usually try not to like eat like a heavy meal like within about 2 or 3 hours. Just I don't want to be up there jumping around with like
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah. And then I'll usually do like maybe 15 minutes of stretching, maybe some like push-ups just to get myself warm,
Mhm.
vocal warm-ups. And then something that I started doing on my first tour was like I would just walk around with my shoes untied all day for some reason, just to be comfortable. And then like right before we would go on, I would just like lace up. And that was just kind of like something I would do like just like 30 seconds just to kind of get in the zone and like take a moment for myself and just tie my shoes. Besides that, it's usually just kind of like just kind of going up there and doing it.
Mhm. It's important to make sure your shoes are tied.
It is, yeah. I was tripping over them a lot when I wasn't on stage, which is my own fault really. But
Happens.
I just need to get some slides, I think, really. That's probably the move.
Yeah, or what are those, the Skechers ones that don't have laces?
Oh, well, that's a whole different
Well, then you
genre.
could just like switch shoes.
Yeah, that's true. But then that's an extra stuff to bring. I try to pack pretty light when I'm on tour.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't have a lot of space.
No, I'll sometimes even just like buy clothes. I'll like bring less clothes and then like buy stuff while I'm on the road.
That's smart.
Yeah, it works. It's better than having to do laundry all the time.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. So, do you have any post-show rituals?
I try to talk to as many people as I possibly can. Like I said earlier, it's like, I am kind of just floored that people still go to shows, and it's like
Yeah.
and especially come to my shows. I don't really I don't know why I've always kind of been like this. I don't really expect much. I just like whenever people do show up or like if a show sells out or something, it's like I appreciate that so much and it just makes me feel like so necessary, I guess. Like it's nice to feel like you mean something to people. And so I just try to thank everybody after every show. I'm usually the one doing my own merch anyway too,
Mhm.
depending on the tour. So I just try to talk to everybody and just try to like take pictures and whatever needs to happen. And I think for a while there too, like I don't really smoke anymore, but I would just pop out with one of my band members and we would just like smoke a little bit or just calm down, you know,
Yeah.
decompress. But I probably won't, I think I'm gonna be sober on this tour for the first time, which would be nice.
I mean, it's always important afterwards to take a quick moment for yourself, to get
Absolutely.
grounded again,
Yeah, probably change.
relax for a second. Yeah.
Usually sweat it through my shirt, so I'll probably change it once or twice. Also in the winter, like in the fall, like if you don't get out of your sweaty clothes, it's like really easy to get sick.
And
So
yeah, but it's also just like that uncomfortable.
yes, that too.
So it's like cold and sticky and
Yeah,
not
definitely.
fun. So, do you have any like particular types of venues that you prefer playing over other venues?
Not particularly, no. I think Honestly, I really am kind of wanting to do like basement shows a little bit.
Mhm.
I always thought that the energy of a basement show or a house show is like very dope. And so I kind of want to like get back to that a little bit. I used to play a lot of like house shows in Buffalo when I lived there because that was just where the scene was.
Yeah.
There were venues and stuff, but like people were just throwing shows in their houses a lot. And I miss that. I don't know of any house shows that are happening in Kansas City. So if you're in Kansas City and you know where the house show scene is, hit me up. I'm trying to play.
So, are there any particular things about tour that you're like super excited for? And look, because we kind of went over like what you were gonna miss, but there are other things about tour that you really look forward to.
Yeah, I sort of have a bit of like daily wanderlust that I deal with. I'm always just kind of like, oh, it'd be crazy if I just was in a different state or like if I was just living in a different country like today or something. Honestly, it's like I am sort of a creature of comfort. Like I like my space. I like having my things in one place just around me. But I think tour is the kind of perfect opportunity to get to experience like the very edge of reality in a
Mhm.
sense. It's like being on tour is kind of wild because you're just kind of in between, like you're just in like a completely different plane of existence than everybody else. You got weird hours, you're like 16, 17-hour days, driving, playing shows, and everything is just very like it's just like it's either light or it's dark. No days, there's no time. It's just light or dark. And that's fun for a while. Yeah, it's like I've done some longer tours where it's like you just really start to miss home and you really want to just go back to your own bed and be with your family and stuff. But this one, I think, is only a couple weeks, and I think that's going to be like a really healthy time to just kind of be on the road and then come home and really just go into album mode. That's kind of the next move is just starting to write the next album.
Have you started writing the album, or is it going to be something you start on after tour?
Um, I'm kind of always writing, honestly.
Okay.
Like I always have something kind of in the chamber. I think for this next album, I've got some loose plans, but I think realistically, like after this tour, because this has like been taking up a lot of my brain power
Yeah.
lately. After the tour is like when I'm gonna kind of lock in on finishing the writing and then start the process.
Well, that is very exciting.
It's exciting for me too. I sometimes it's like I know exactly what I want to do for an album, and I think this time I actually don't know what I want to do, but
Ooh,
that's kind of the exciting thing.
yeah, that is exciting. Kind of just letting it happen.
Yeah, I've got like a bunch of different kinds of songs that I've been working on, and like some of them are a little more like it's kind of like a mix of like what I like stuff I've done in the past, and then a mix of like stuff that's on Creator. Some of them are just like more traditional, like Mags songs, I guess. And then some of them are just kind of like I have one that is almost like a club beat, and it's like strange. I'm like, that could this be a Mag song? And I'm like, well, if I say it is, then it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, you created Mag, so it can be whatever you want.
That's the idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to do stuff that makes me excited at the end of the day. It's not really a genre thing. It's just
Mhm.
like what feels right.
Right. Because if it doesn't feel right, you're not going to enjoy writing it or then singing it.
Yeah. I've got a couple songs that I don't enjoy singing, so I don't, and that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like most artists probably have a couple that they've written that they're like, oh, at the time I liked it, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes like I think songs can have a shelf life, especially for like the artists themselves. It's like, either bringing up, you know, things of the past that don't need to be reopened or just stuff like that.
Yeah, or you've played it a million times and you're like, I really want to play new stuff.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for people who haven't seen you live, what would you describe that experience like?
I would describe it as probably the most fun that you can have, you know. I think it's like I try to do like interactive shows. Like I don't want to just be up there and then you're watching me and I'm just putting out all this energy and then you get to just like sort of passively experience it. It's like we're all kind of experiencing it together. It's like if you're coming to my show, it's like we're going to be sharing energy the whole time. And ultimately I think Mags is just like a celebration of like our human condition. It's like
Mhm.
we're gonna sing through the pain. We're gonna laugh about anxiety. We're gonna, you know, everything that we all experience as people, it's like the shows are just a celebration of that, you know? So I try to, even if I don't ever say that from the stage, it's like that's the bottom line.
Right.
We're here because it's incredible that we're all just together and we're here at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting to see how every different artist kind of interacts with the audience differently.
Yeah, yeah. I really want to like I think realistically, like one of my goals as a person is just to be like helpful, I guess. I'd like the idea that like something that I experienced could help someone else. Something that I create could be a sense of like comfort for someone. And I don't know, like it's not really about me at the end of the day. Like when I go up there, it's not really about like, look at me, like look at this thing that I've done. It's like, look, we're all here. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. So going off of that, if people could take something away from your music, what would you want that to be?
I guess I have a very similar answer. It's like the music itself, a lot of it is just very personal for me,
Mhm.
and like things that I've actually lived or things that I've experienced. And, I think there's always kind of a deeper side to every song. But I also do want people to sort of have their own interpretations of the lyrics or like, however the song makes you feel, like that's what it's about. And, I sometimes like for me, it's like if I hear a song and then I hear the artist talk about it, it almost kind of ruins the song for me. Like I've
Mhm.
had that happen before where it's like, oh, I would have never expected that that was what they were trying to get across,
Yeah.
and I kind of like my version better, or
Mhm.
I like the memory that I've attached to this song better than what they said it's about. So,
Right. I think that's what's so interesting about music is that it's written about one particular moment, but then once it's released, it becomes about each individual person when they hear it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think once the album comes out, it's no longer mine, it's everyone's.
Yeah. Which is such a unique thing that I don't think you can really get in too many other art forms.
I guess not. Yeah. I think maybe painting, like if you buy a painting and you're just like, this painting is like, it reminds me of my grandmother and the person
Right.
that it's like, oh, well, this is actually just like a bunch of leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just a very unique thing. It's so interesting to see how people kind of interpret it differently.
Yeah. I would say art is like entirely subjective and, you know, like the fact that anyone thinks that like my music is like, connection worthy. I think that's half the battle, really.
So before I ask the last question, is there anything else that you want to mention or talk about today?
I feel like we covered it a lot. I think that was like, I'm going on tour, get the album out, new albums coming. No, I think that's
Okay.
pretty solid.
Okay. So the last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
The soundtrack of my life, that's a crazy question. So I guess we're going into fall right now, and I've got a few albums that I definitely come back to a lot for fall. In Motion by Copeland is a very prominent fall album for me. And then I listened to this one Duster album a lot. I think it's Stratosphere, like their big one, the one that like went viral or whatever. But like, yeah, Duster is like one of the one of the important artists that I come back to a lot. It's like music that kind of helps me to like feel like a person, I
Mhm.
guess. I think sometimes like I think lately especially I use music not so much for like enjoyment, but I use it to like lock into like certain feelings. I'm right now in the process of kind of trying to flip that to where I'm just enjoying music again.
Yeah.
Um, because I think it's more important, honestly, than using music for a purpose. It's like music should kind of just be like things that make you excited or make you feel like yourself. Other than that, I mean, really anything Motown. It's like I can
Mhm.
really kind of get into that's the music that puts me in a good mood at any time. It's like, okay, like everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like that's how Motown feels to me. And there's a couple unknown mortal orchestra records that do that as well, where I'm just like the newest one, I think it's the fifth one. I think is it called Five? I don't know, or V? I don't know what he called it, but it's just literally just like a V on the album cover. But that album came out, I think, last year, and it's incredible. Then he's got a couple other ones that are just like absolutely like breathtaking compositions. And like it's like these songs are to me like these are like the Beatles of the modern age kind of thing, you know. And the Beach Boys as well. The Beach Boys have always been like I've always felt very fondly about their music. And it's like really sad, a lot of it, but
Yeah.
like
It's good music though.
it's great music and they do it in like a way where it's like you don't always feel sad when you're listening to it. It's just like I don't know, you can kind of just acknowledge that the sadness is there, but like still kind of retain whatever mood you're in, you know?
Right. I feel like is an important aspect of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, my mom always sort of like tells me, she's like, oh, this song's got kind of a Beach Boys vibe to it because she doesn't know what else to compare it to, you know? But yeah, I think that that kind of that mentality is something that I borrow a lot from my music. It's like we might be talking about some like really hard topics or some really like personal things, but like we're gonna do it and it's gonna be lit,
Right.
it's still gonna be like exciting and just kind of smile through the pain, I guess.
Yeah. Sometimes it makes it easier to get through those moments.
Yeah, definitely.
So people that want to stay updated on you and then maybe see you out on tour, where can they find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms. I do have a Twitter. I also have an Instagram, and I've been posting on TikTok a little more lately. It's Elliot_Mags for all of them. I also have a Patreon that I started earlier this year, and I think everything I just said, you can get through my website, elliottmags.com. And you can also stay updated on tour dates over there. And the merch store is also on the website. So anything you need is on the website.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
This was great. Yeah. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, have a nice rest of your day.
You too. I'll talk to you some other time, I hope.
Bye.
Bye.
Be sure to go check him out and make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at STO Lives Podcast. Thanks for joining us.